My commitment to you is that if you do everything I say in this video, you will know your starter niche as a travel agent by the end of this video. So let's get into it. Hi, by the way, my name is Brittany. I'm the founder of Travel Agent Haven. I've been a travel agent myself since 2020, and since then, I've helped over 100 people not only become travel agents, but actually earn incomes as travel agents. Like, I don't want you to just get started. I want you to actually do well to succeed. For some people, this looks like making a full-time income working part-time hours. For others, this is a side hustle that works around their full-time job as a teacher, as a nurse, their 9 to 5. And for some, this is a way to fund their travels all over the world, and they'll pair it with something like working in aviation so they can get free flights and then the travel agent deals and discounts, and then also to make some money like booking trips for friends. So you really get to pick your adventure here. But if you're watching this video, I'm guessing that you've either recently started as a travel agent or you're thinking about becoming a travel agent and you're trying to figure out your niche. And I think we put way too much stress on this. I usually coach travel agents and tell them, hey, actually don't pick a niche. Why don't you go and book 10 trips first and just learn the game, right? Get paid while you're learning, make some commissions while you figure out what kind of travel do you actually like to book, what do you not like to book, what's worth your time, what's not, what kinds of clients do you actually like to work with. And I still think and hold true to that after 6 years in this business, that at least as of when I'm recording, could be more by the time you watch or listen, that is the best advice. But I do think it helps you go further faster if you do know your niche, or if you at least have a starter niche. And if there's something that's been happening in the back of your brain that's been saying, I can't get started until I have a niche, I can't start my business unless I have the logo and the name and the colors and all that picked out. First of all, that's not true, okay? I still, by the way, as a professional, I have never actually named my travel agency. Can you believe that? I've never named it. I've just said, you're traveling with me, you're working with me, and that's been fine. I just went and took action. I started reaching out to people, and I highly recommend, if you are thinking about becoming a travel agent, or if you've recently started and you haven't had many clients yet, go watch my video. I'll put the card somewhere up here that shows you exactly how to get clients as a travel agent with no experience. This is the exact exercise I did, and it's what I teach my new travel agents how to do, so you can walk through it. It does not require a social media following or any tech knowledge or anything like that. It's just old school work ethic, elbow grease, okay? And anybody can do it, which is encouraging, I think. But if you are someone who you would just feel better, you would feel more clear, you would feel more confident if you at least had something to work with, that's what this video is about. So let's get into the starter niche. A starter niche is something really simple, succinct, short, that you can quickly explain to someone what you do, okay? And we're keeping this super simple. In fact, the shorter the better. I book cruises for teachers. That's super simple, right? I would know exactly what you're about, what you do. I help backpackers go on the Camino. Super clear, right? I know who you're talking to. I know the specific region and occasion of travel that you're working with. I help people see Mexico beyond Cancun. Ooh, mysterious, right? I'm like, oh, interesting. So this person's focusing on places in Mexico, destination, that maybe other people don't get to see because they're focusing on going to Cancun. They're focusing on going to Isla Mujeres. This person has some deep destination knowledge, or at least it seems that way, right? So we can get to level 2 later of wordsmithing that and making it sound really interesting and intriguing, and that does help with things like speaking at expos or events, or getting a vendor table, or being on social media. But I think it more so helps just for you mentally, because then you know, what am I going to talk about? Who am I to book your trip? Okay? It becomes way easier to truly position yourself as an expert and to actually become the expert when you focus on something specific. So you're going to start with your starter niche. That is what we're going to have by the end of this video. So if you need to, get your phone out if you're watching this on your TV or your computer so you can get your notes app, get a paper and a pen, actually do this, okay? The cool thing about YouTube is you can pause this video, go grab those things, come back, and then push play when you're ready. Are you ready? Okay, let's do it. So your starter niche is not your forever niche, right? This is just what we're starting with. So don't feel like you're completely locked in. If that feels stressful to you, it's not a big deal. We can always tweak it and change it later. This is a living document, okay? It's just what we're starting with now. First, you're going to start with the traveler. We always, marketing 101, want to start with the end in mind. Who are you talking to? Who do you want to work with? Who are you serving? Do you want to work with people who love the outdoors and backpacking for multiple days in the wilderness? They love adventure. Maybe they're a younger crowd in their 20s. You can get really granular here and say, do I want to mostly work with men, women, couples, groups of women? If you can get there, that's great. But remember, this is our start. starter niche, so we just want to get far enough that we have some clarity so we can take action, okay? You don't need to have this really thought out paragraph statement, right? The quicker the better. But if you think about who you want to help most, this really helps. This really does do so much for you. When I first got started, I already had my starter niche. I knew I wanted to do group trips for teachers. Super clear, right? Of course, I've expanded since then, and I've booked other things too. I've booked a lot of destination weddings, I've booked honeymoons. So it doesn't mean that you're locked into only that one thing, but if you can figure that out, the traveler, who are you booking for, that also helps to rule out other things. So let me give you an example. If I'm booking group trips for teachers, I'm probably not going to focus on Disney a lot because Disney is more so for families or for Disney adults, people who want to go on their own off time. That's a different kind of travel business, honestly, than saying, nope, the model is for me, I'm going to have several group trips and tours throughout the year. That is mostly going to be my focus. I have so many spots. Are you going to come with me or not? That is a very different offer than saying, I'm going to book destination weddings whenever you want to go, wherever you want to go. So it's good for you to think about that for yourself. Like, what business model do you want to have? And I know that might be a little bit advanced if you're seeing this, like if this is the first video in your rabbit hole of figuring out how to become a travel agent or how to make money as a travel agent. But I do think it's good for you to think about because, for example, for me, for group trips, I'm traveling a lot during the year, right? I'm taking between 2 to 7 up to 10 international trips per year. And that's totally cool with me, at least for the life stage that I'm in right now. That could absolutely change in the future. And I might decide I will do fewer of those, or I might hire more people to take on and host those for me. There's so many different ways I can go, but that is good for you to think about. Do you want to be available to help people maybe in a different time zone? Like if it's early for you, 3 a.m, are you going to be able to answer an SOS call? These are all things that you want to think about, but that's a future problem because my promise to you was to get you done with the starter niche. So let's start there. Who is your traveler? You're going to decide that right now. I want you to write that down. Is it college students? Is it couples? Is it couples who are eloping? That's very specific, right? People who just got married, so honeymooners. I want you to write that down, okay? Commit. This is just your starter, okay? And some other examples, we've got families, groups of friends, retirees. Like, the more vivid of a picture you can paint in your mind, the better. Another pro tip, if you've been that traveler, or if you are now, that's a really great place to start. It made sense for me to start with teachers, right? Because I taught for 5 years. I know the problems, I know the upsides, I know the culture, and I also knew just logistically which weekends I would have off. I knew that summer was going to be my primary season. That's when I was going to be doing most of my traveling. So I picked what worked for me. And by the way, I started as a travel agent when I was still teaching in the classroom full time, right? So I had to pick what physically worked for me. And I knew if I'm teaching throughout the year, I couldn't do trips in September, right? It didn't make sense. I was going to be teaching, but I could post trips on my summer breaks off. I had to do what worked for me first. And then based on that, what did I know? Who did I know? Who could I serve best? And so it made sense for me to start there. So what is that for you? Maybe it's backpackers. Maybe it's people who love train travel, right? Think about the kind of travel you like. That is a great place to start. Or maybe you're moving out of that stage. Like, that's what it is for me for backpacking. I would not really consider myself a backpacker anymore. I'm coming out of that phase, although I'll stay at a hostel every once in a while. But I do know that life and that culture well, so I feel well equipped to create content around that, to help someone who's taking their first backpacking trip across Europe. Like, I know I can help them do that. So think about who that person is for you. Write that down before you move on. You can pause this video if you need to. Okay, do you have your person? I hope so, because we're going to move on to the next step of that. We're going to add on one other factor, okay? And by the way, this is also something you could start with if the traveler part is too much for you. If you don't have that written down yet, then I want you to see if maybe starting here could actually help. But we do want to get specific with the traveler, at least for our starter niche by the end of this video, okay? That is your time limit. And I want to hear, by the way, I want you to drop it in the comments once you do know what your starter niche is going to be. I am genuinely interested. I respond to every single comment. So make sure you put it. And then if you want feedback, then you can ask that, right? And then other people, as they come and see this video, they'll let you know what they think. So be willing to do that for someone else, by the way, that when you go and leave your starter niche in the comments, be willing to look at what other people have said and give them feedback, honestly and kindly though, of course. Okay, so after the traveler, ideally you would have that first. If you don't, that's okay. There are 3 other factors that can help you figure out your starter niche. The first one is your destination or region. And this is often where travel agents start. And it's totally fine to start here, especially if you don't know the specific kind of traveler who would enjoy the destination or region that you enjoy. So let me give you an example. I have a blog that's specifically about Ireland. That is a destination. I would consider myself a destination expert when it comes to the country of Ireland. I've been there at least 6 times, possibly more by the time you see this video. I've hosted several group trips there. I have many contacts there. there, I have a certain experience that I want to create and curate for people who come to Ireland, for people who visit Ireland. I know the tour companies I recommend, I know the cities I would have people visit, all of that stuff. So if you have a destination like that, and by the way, it doesn't have to be some place that you view as far away. It could be your home. Do you live in a home city or a home state or even a home country where people want to come visit? Your niche, by the way, and this might be a light bulb moment for you, it doesn't have to be something that you personally, by the way, find exciting. Because for me, I live in Tucson, Arizona. People love to come here. It's a major destination, especially for people who love the Old West and they want to go to Tombstone, or even for people who live in Mexico. We have a ski resort here. It's the closest ski resort to people in Sonora, Mexico. So think about that. Do you live somewhere that could be the destination you focus on? Because that doesn't mean that's the only place you'll ever visit, right? You can use your destination where you live or where you've been before, even if you don't want to go back there, to become the expert and to sell that expertise and then use the money you earn to go travel wherever and however you want. That helped me a lot, and it's also something I've told many travel agents who have gotten started. So don't think that your niche has to be exactly what you want to do. It can be something you've done or someplace you already live. And you can decide what this looks like. So your destination could be a specific city. Think about Rome or London or Paris for a second, right? If you live in one of those cities, or if you've been to one of those cities, especially if you've been there multiple times, you're going to have an interesting perspective and you're going to have insider information that someone who hasn't been there wouldn't have. And I'm also going to add, there's a really interesting thing that I have to make a video about that most people want to hear from locals. But the funny thing is, locals don't often know what stuff is worth visiting as a tourist in their local destination because they don't do those things. For me, I really had to go out of my way and figure out what's worth doing and seeing in Tucson because I live here. I don't go to those things all the time. Literally, I did not realize how close I lived to Saguaro National Park until I had been living here for 2 years. Funny, right? But I just never looked it up because I go about my business. So it's funny that you might think locals automatically know their place better, but think about where you live. Do you know what you would recommend for tourists to do? Maybe not. Fun homework to do. So don't feel like it has to be someplace far away, but if you want to focus on a place that you want to visit, that's totally fine too. It could be a specific country like Italy, Germany, South Africa, China, or it could be a region, Southern Europe, if you want to focus on Italy and Spain, for example, Croatia. Maybe you choose to do Northern Europe, Denmark, Norway, Finland. You get to choose what that looks like. I have a really good friend who is a polar region expert. So she focuses on Antarctica. She gets a lot of business there, but she also does other hard to reach places like Greenland and Iceland. So you get to choose what that looks like for you. You can pick a city, a state, a country, or even just a region. And by the way, one question I often get around this is, will X niche be profitable? Like, should I focus on Italy? Will people want to go? Anything can be profitable, okay? But I will say that not everything will be the best niche for you. So you have to really sit there and think, what would be the best niche for me to start with? What do I know really well? Or what am I passionate about? Or what am I willing to become the expert on? And then you're going to find success, I promise. If you do that, I should say, promise, like disclaimer, right? Disclaimer, you have to do the things. But if you focus on something that you either know really well or that you're really passionate about, like you can't not win. Okay, so option number 2, if you don't want to focus on destination or region, and or if you want to add this layer in, like maybe you do have a traveler in mind and you have a destination in mind, that's already 2 layers. But if you can add on, or instead of destination, if you want to add on the layer of occasion, that helps so much. So earlier I mentioned honeymooners, destination weddings. If there's a certain kind of event that you focus on or a certain kind of motivation for travel, that is such a win, because if you can become known for that one thing, then people will more easily share what you do on their own social media platforms with their friends or family members or other people who might be interested in that thing. Let me give you an example. I said elopements earlier, right? Maybe you focus on people who want to elope in Yellowstone or in that region, right? Say you live near there. That would be such an amazing niche for you, because especially if you're a member of that local community, you could become friends with a photographer, maybe some catering. And so you have this little system, this network of other people who are helping couples elope. Now they're cross-promoting you, right? The photographer that you're always going to recommend for these couples who want to get photos of their trip, if they are photographing someone, they're going to say, hey, do you have your travel booked yet? I have a travel agent friend who focuses on this. You see what I mean? Even just having a starter niche is so helpful, because then it helps people know how to recommend you, who they can recommend you to, what do you want to be known for, like all these things. And then you can get more specialized and granular as you go if you want. So just some examples of occasion travel. So there's pilgrimages, which can be amazing. Like I mentioned, the Camino Camino de Santiago earlier. That is a major pilgrimage for many Christians, for many Catholics. What about trips to Mecca? That would be a religious pilgrimage. Or you might have concert-based travel. During the Taylor Swift Eras Tour, I saw so many people who had never traveled out of the country for the first time go to a new country and stay there for at least the weekend, if not a week, because they wanted to go see Taylor Swift live. And because they wanted to go see Taylor Swift live, and also because the concert tickets were actually cheaper if you went to one of these countries, so they just decided, hey, let's make a trip out of it. Sporting events. I could not believe how many Green Bay Packer fans I saw in London one day, and I was like, what's going on? And they told me, oh, the Packers are here playing this game. And I'm like, what? Why are they in London? What's happening? That's American football. So there is a niche for anything and everything. Whatever you're interested in, whatever traveler you want to serve. That's why I said it really helps to start with the traveler. But if you can't think of the traveler first, then you can start with this and think about, okay, what kind of occasion or event would I be interested in? And then the third optional layer is the type of travel. And I feel like this is usually the easiest one. So I mentioned earlier, cruises for teachers. That's a very simple niche, right? You have the type of travel and you have the traveler. Cruises for teachers. Or maybe you decide that you're going to specialize in all-inclusives, that's the type of travel, in the Caribbean. That is the region or the destination. Maybe you decide you're going to do India, but luxury only. You see how that kind of makes a qualifier of like, okay, the destination is India, but we're not going to be backpacking through India. We're only staying in 4- and 5-star hotels. You see what I mean? Same thing with safaris. Maybe you only do safaris where the animals are treated ethically. So there are certain experiences that you would not recommend because of how you feel about animals. Once you have all the other stuff, like if you can't think of the traveler first, you can already see the type of traveler who would be drawn to these certain types of experiences, right? Some travelers will only do luxury, and those people tend to have more money, right? Or they at least have a lot of travel experience. They know what they want. So the more specific you can be, the better you can understand who your traveler is going to be that would be interested in working with you and then having you book for them. And then you put it all together. Once you put all of those things together, that is when you have your starter niche. So again, I want to see you drop it in the comments. I'm serious about that. And also, I can help you workshop it, right? If you're thinking, okay, I've got this part, but does that sound good? Does this work? Let me know. And I like it when people put these things in the comments because then we can all see and learn together. Or if you would rather just send it to me privately, that's totally fine too. You can always send me a DM on Instagram over at Travel Agent Haven. I'll put the QR code up on the screen. Act like you're going to take a picture, hold your phone camera open up to the QR code, and it will actually take you directly to my Instagram profile, which is just a cool little hack. By the way, if you are a travel agent and you have a YouTube channel, that is a great way to get leads DMing you, right? If you want more clients, do what I'm doing here. Okay, let me just give you some more examples so you can firm this up. I help couples plan romantic, all-inclusive vacations throughout Mexico and the Caribbean. Super specific, right? But you don't even have to get that specific yet. If we are just getting our starter niche off the ground, I help couples go to the Caribbean on their honeymoon. Simple. I help women in their 40s take their first solo trip through Europe. Solid. I help families plan magical Disney vacations. I love that. And I would even say that you could go a little deeper than that. You could say families with or families without what? Is there a certain requirement? Is there a certain restriction? Because Disney is a beast, right? But maybe you say, I help families tick off every Disney park on their bucket list. That would be ultra specific, right? They're going to Disneyland Paris. They're going to Disneyland Tokyo. Those are like the super fans. So start with a starter niche, but then be thinking, how can I make this even more specific? How can I figure out which type of traveler would be into this? If you'd like to get even more feedback on your starter niche, you want to hear from other travel agents I also mentor, I just want to shout out my Facebook group called Pack Your Passport. That's also the name of a playlist I have here on my YouTube channel, as well as a podcast you can find on Spotify and likely other platforms by the time you see this or in the future. So check out that Facebook group. That is a great free resource for you to come and ask for feedback, to get ideas. You can tell us about your niche. You can do that in the comments too. But if you want to hear from other people who I mentor, who are more experienced, who maybe can give you some insight, not just people who are commenting, that would be another great resource for you too. If you'd like to see more videos like this, you can go ahead and subscribe and then click that little bell so you never miss notifications of when a new video is posted. And if you could do me the greatest favor, if you found this video to be helpful, could you like it? It does show YouTube, hey, this video was good. We're going to show it to more people. And I really do think that travel agents need to see this video because other people out there are making this whole niche thing way more complicated and more stressful than it has to be. You could even see that this video is not that long, and I came up with so many niches during this time, right? Like, you really do just have to overcome the mind, the indecision, and just pick one and then go with it and see how it feels. Maybe you just practice saying it for a couple of weeks, and then if it still doesn't resonate, or if you're still not gaining traction, then you can change it. But I also just want to add the caution and the caveat that no matter what you pick, it's probably going to take a lot of time, some energy, and maybe even some money eventually, right? Like maybe you buy some business cards or something to really commit to going all in with a brand name. I also want to encourage you though that you don't have to have this 100%. If you go and reach out to family members and friends, if you let people know that you're a travel agent, if you are strategic and intentional with what you put online, if you're going to do social media content, or with the conversations you have in person, then you will succeed, you will find clients, you will get business, and you'll do well. You don't have to have a fancy brand name or even a website. I just think there are so many of these things that we decide or we hear somewhere that you have to have this and this, and you really don't. You just have to be willing to make decisions and take actions quickly and do well, and also continue to improve, right? Because your first few bookings are going to be the hardest ones. They're going to be the most stressful because you're figuring everything out. Once you get past the like 10 booking mark, you're going to feel really good and confident and competent. And it's my job, my mission to help you get there. So whether you work with me one-on-one, I'll have more information about that in the description, or you decide to just binge the videos here on my YouTube channel, I really do want you to get the help that you need. Thanks again for watching this video. Again, my name is Brittany, founder of Travel Agent Haven. I'm so glad you're here. I can't wait to hear your starter niche in the comments below. Talk soon.